Hey guys, thank you for joining me. My name's Annalise and welcome to my cozy little corner where I sit down and I give reviews on some books that I've read. So first up, we've got From Blood and Ash. This is written by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is good if you're an adult and you want to get into fantasy. I would very strongly recommend this. It gets a little confusing at the beginning just because she doesn't go into a lot of the world building, which is where I think that's kind of a good thing. She doesn't get into a bunch of the supernatural things. So I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free as I can. Okay, fine. So From Blood and Ash, it's about a maiden who ends up having this guard maiden. She can't be touched. She can't be looked at. This all takes place after a war of two kings. She was attacked by a craven, which is some kind of supernatural creature that the way to get turned into a craven is to be bitten by a craven, but we don't know where they originate from. So her family was attacked by cravens. She lost her mom and dad in this fight. So it's just her left and she ends up living through it. She has scars on her face and all over her body marking that this craven attack happened. She becomes the chosen one, the maiden that's supposed to she's supposed to be given to the gods as a present due to her surviving this craven attack. Since she's lived such a sheltered life, you really feel like as a character, she's going to be very mild and timid. And that's not what we see from Poppy at all. And that's what I love about her. So she's full of curiosity and she has so many questions. Like it's mentioned multiple times here in one of the Wolvens, he gets so annoyed by her because she's full of questions, which I love. Since she's lost both of her parents, she ends up gaining a father figure, Victor, who's a personal guard. He trains her to fight and stick up for herself and defend herself, which we love that. But she is still a problem child. She sneaks out a lot. She ends up at the Red Pearl. She stays hidden, so she wears a mask and she has a cloak. She got a cloak from somebody else, where she meets Hawk, who is going to be her guard. He recognizes this cloak and he thinks that it's somebody else. So he doesn't hesitate to initiate something intimate, if you will. So he stops, of course. It doesn't get too far because she's the maiden. She's not supposed to be touched. She's not supposed to be looked upon, stuff like that, because she's supposed to be given to the gods. So that creates all of this sexual tension, and it continues throughout the entire book because it goes the next day and he's one of the new guards and he's so young and he's come in so highly ranked. And so they're trying to figure out what he has done in order to be considered so amazing in this guard position. So one thing about Poppy, she can feel other people's pain. She's very much like an empath, you know, how you can sympathize with people and you can feel other people's pains and stuff like that. But she has a power where she can not only feel what people are feeling, but then she can also take that away. So if somebody's having pain, stuff like that, she can put her hand on them, I think is how it initially starts, but then it gets to where she doesn't have to touch them at all. But what I find most interesting is that nobody else, at least that you know of, nobody else has a power like that. It's not really talked about. You can tell that there's supernatural components because, like I said, there's Craven, there's Wolven, and the Craven bites, they look like two fang punctures in the neck. So, I mean, it's kind of giving vampire vibes, but they don't ever fully come out. We'll talk a little bit about Hawk, who is the guard, who is the mailman character. If you've read A Court of Thorns and Roses or Crescent City, he's a lot like Cassian from A Court of Thorns and Roses and Hunt from Crescent City. He's that big, strong warrior type. He's witty. He's suggestive, you know, provocatively suggestive. Like anytime that it's just the two of him, he's always like, hey, you wanna? You know, like he's that kind of guy. And whenever I talk about the sexual tension between the two, like she throws daggers at him. It's intense. Who knew that throwing daggers at each other could be so energized like that? Since Poppy has gone through a craven attack whenever she was a child, she's considered the chosen one. She becomes the favorite of the queen because she's so special. It's just weird that nobody else has a power, so to speak. Like that's where things get really weird. It's like you're meant to be left in the dark about it all because she's left in the dark. It's not that she's left in the dark. It's like she's been taught a history that's not true. And so she doesn't know any better. She doesn't know any different. So that's why I feel like we are left in the dark too, because we know everything that she knows, which is essentially nothing. It's a series. So of course, the ending of this was it's a good cliffhanger. It definitely makes you want to jump right into the next book, which I did. It gives me more of a dark fantasy romance. It does get pretty graphic. It does get pretty intense. But the things that Poppy has to learn and the struggles that she goes through the rest of the series is just phenomenal. And I can't say how much I love this book, because I started reading it on my wedding day, and it's just been, I don't know, this whole series has just touched me in a special way. And I think it helps that Hawk reminds me of my husband. He's very much a witty, strong warrior type, and we love that. We love that. So definitely recommend, especially if you want to get into fantasy. It does have some adult content in there, so just be careful with that. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy.